Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Ryan in Singapore. Welcome to our mindfulness practice. Time to start our topic. Welcome, everybody. Today's topic is, the 9 attitudes of MBSR. So we did a little intro last time, and this time we're going to move into the first attitude, which is non-judging. And as I was thinking about non-judging, I thought, should I present it myself, or should I read from Full Catastrophe Living? And as much as I like to try to do my own commentary, I haven't read this before, and I really think that this nails it quite well. And I mean, after all, it is the creator of MBSR writing it, and non-judging is maybe, I mean, all the 9 attitudes are important, but I'd say out of the 9 attitudes, like if there's one you can remember and you forget the rest of them, non-judging is probably the most important of these attitudes. And without further ado, I'm just going to go ahead and read this excerpt from Full Catastrophe Living. So mindfulness is cultivated by paying close attention to your moment-to-moment experience while, as best you can, not getting caught up in your ideas and opinions, likes and dislikes. This orientation allows us to see things more as they may actually be, rather than through our own distorted lenses and agendas. To adopt such a stance toward your own experience requires that you become aware of the constant stream of judging and reacting to the inner and outer experiences that we are all normally caught up in, and learn to step back from it. When we begin practicing paying attention to the activity of our own mind, it is common to discover and to be surprised, even astonished, by the fact that we are constantly generating judgments about our experience. Almost everything we see is labeled and categorized by the mind. We react to everything we experience in terms of what we think is of value to us. Some things, people, and events are judged as good because they make us feel good for some reason. Others are equally condemned as bad because they make us feel bad. The rest is categorized as neutral because we don't think it has much relevance. Neutral things, people, and events are almost completely tuned out of our consciousness. We usually find them the most boring to give attention to. This habit of categorizing and judging our experiences locks us into automatic reactions that we are not even aware of, and that often have no objective basis at all. These judgments tend to dominate our minds, making it difficult for us ever to find any peace within ourselves, or to develop any discernment as to what may actually be going on inwardly and outwardly. It's like the mind were a yo-yo going up and down on the string of our own judging thoughts all day long. If you doubt this description of your mind, just observe how much you are preoccupied with liking and disliking during, say, any given 10-minute period as you go about your business. If we are to find a more effective way of handling the stress in our lives, the first thing we need to do is to be aware of these automatic judgments, so that when we see through our own usually unexperienced prejudices and fears, and liberate ourselves from their tyranny. When practicing mindfulness, it is important to recognize this judging quality of the mind when it appears and assume a broader perspective by intentionally suspending judgment and assuming a stance of impartiality. Reminding yourself to, as best you can, simply observe what is unfolding, including your reactions to it. When you find the mind judging, you don't have to stop it from doing that, and it would be unwise to try. All that is required is to be aware it is happening. No need to judge the judging and make matters even more complicated for yourself. As an example, let's say you're practicing watching your breathing. At a certain point, you may find your mind saying something like, "This is boring," or "This isn't working," or "I can't do this." These are judgments. When they come up in your mind, it is very important to recognize them as judgmental thinking and remind yourself that the practice involves suspending judgment and just watching whatever comes up, including your own judging thoughts, without pursuing them or acting on them in any way. Then go back to riding the waves of your breathing with full awareness once again. So, I don't think I have much more to add to that. It's quite comprehensive about non-judging. Maybe the most interesting, I guess I can comment on what I think is the most interesting here. I think it's that what we determine as good or bad is based on our feelings, right? And I think what's interesting is historically, through the ages, until the 1960s, I think our feelings were not to be trusted. I mean, you look at ancient history, how scholars, how leaders, how various structures of even religious tradition as well look at feelings as something to take careful consideration of, not to blindly follow our feelings. And I feel like the 1960s made this revolution of, if it feels good, do it. That was the mantra of the 1960s. If it feels good, do it. And I think that this is kind of a way that we've gone a bit astray, and that, why? What is it that's so important about our feeling of something being good or bad that makes us want to follow it? And if I think even, why be cautious? Because I believe the contrary is probably the truth. Is that if it feels good, then there's a reason to be cautious about it as we pursue it, right? I mean, I have never. I haven't taken strong opioids, right? But I would argue that opioids probably feel very good, and following that and continuing to do something that feels very good comes with some kind of danger. So why do we think something that feels good is good and something that feels bad is bad? And I think this is really is so foundational to the meditation practice. If we can start to really observe those feelings with this non-judgmental awareness, to kind of go, oh, this feels good. Not that because it feels good it's bad, but that's a reason for me to be curious. Can I curiously examine my experience? What is this that feels good? Why does it feel good? How about this thing that feels bad? And as we mentioned last week, mindfulness-based stress reduction was originally created for pain management. This feels bad. And as I examine this thing that feels bad, what happens to me? What happens to my attitude towards it? And is that completely out of control? Are those two things disjointed? And I think we discover over time, and I can especially tell you as the father of a young baby, and I remember talking about this before I had my third kid, right? Is like a cold shower is something that a lot of us go, that's unpleasant. But to see my kids go, when they're babies, go, well, this is fun, this is interesting, this is new, this is exciting. That really alters my locked in perspective of cold showers stink, so it's possible to kind of come back and to dial back and to see things without these prejudices that have been brewing for years and years inside of our minds, and to see our experience, our moment-to-moment experience with non-judgmental awareness. Okay, I will. Thanks, Rachel, for your comments. I'm going to go ahead and get into our meditation, and then we'll go through the chat at the end. So, in line with what non-judging is about. So I just finished talking about good and bad, and so the one other thing that may be really hard to pay attention to is the neutral experience. So we're going to be following the breath today, and as we examine the breath, is it possible to look at something that may be neutral with an openness and a curiosity, and to see what attitudes are around it? So go ahead and get comfortable. I would encourage you to adopt a seated posture. See if you can sit up without the aid of your backrest. Hips slightly higher than the knees if that's possible for you, to aid in support of the spine. If you like, allowing the eyes to close. Maybe rolling the shoulders a few times, moving the head around to encourage a little bit of relaxation in the shoulders and neck. Letting the arms just hang by their own weight. Your hands could be folded in your lap, perhaps resting on your knees. And then arriving in our meditation posture in stillness. So letting go of any movements, and if any desire to move begins to come up, see if you can be aware of that desire without actually moving. What's underlying that desire to move? Is there a judgment about what sitting here feels like that is causing us to take action or to want to take action? So now examining the head, the face. Do you find any tension in the face? Seeing if you can let the face relax. How about the shoulders, the neck? Can your awareness of these parts of the body help allow any tension in these parts of the body to dissolve, for you to relax? The upper back, the lower back. And now I'll invite you to bring your attention around to the front of the body, noticing the abdomen. As we observe the abdomen, can you notice the details of the gentle movement of the abdomen? The rest of the body remains still. But without our control, without our will even, our abdomen continues moving as we continue breathing. As you observe the abdomen and its constant gentle motion, do you see any thoughts rising up? Any opinions? Why is my breath so fast? Why is my breath so long? Am I controlling my breath? Aren't I supposed to be letting go of control of my breath? I wonder how long we're going to do this. I can't do this. This is too hard. My mind won't stay clear. What thoughts come up? What thoughts go through the mind, and can you observe that thought with non-judgmental awareness? And something interesting about non-judgmental awareness is that when a thought comes, awareness of that thought is liberating. Liberates that thought. It's like a bubble passing through the room. Your awareness of that thought is like reaching out and poking that bubble and causing it to burst. Liberates that thought as we are able to reorient our attention back to the breath. And then maybe that same thought reforms, nucleates, floats through the room yet again, and we pop that bubble again with awareness. We do that as many times as we have to throughout our mindfulness practice. So keep, as best you can, focusing your attention on the physical sensation of breathing at the abdomen and noticing all the opinions, all the thoughts, all the emotions that may be around it. Okay, we're going to begin to draw our practice to its natural close. So I'll close practice with 3 rings of the bell. After the sound of the bell has subsided completely, feel free to begin to open your eyes and to move around, stretch out. And as we close, I'd like to invite you to congratulate yourself for having made it through this powerful practice, this powerful time to practice mindfulness. So I'll close with 3 rings of the bell. All right. Well done. Congratulations. How did it go today? And especially, I'd like to ask you, how did it go in the context of non-judging? What happened? Did you see some thoughts coming through your mind? Were there judgments about those thoughts? Were the thoughts related to the breath? Were they related to other things? And what happened? What did you notice as those thoughts came up? Did you want more of those thoughts? Did you want to keep following those thoughts? Did you want to push those thoughts away? So please use the chat to discuss whatever it is that's come up for you today. So Jean asks, what Jon Kabat-Zinn book is this from? It is from Full Catastrophe Living. There, I'll just write it in the chat. So Full Catastrophe Living is kind of the old instruction manual for MBSR. So if you'd like to learn a lot about mindfulness-based stress reduction, you can read all about it in Full Catastrophe Living. Rachel says, that is the most contradictory thing to human nature. We judge in order to assess safety. It's such a basic instinct. To go against that is almost potentially suicidal, as well as what if the thing we're judging is dangerous. Yeah, okay, thanks for sharing Full Catastrophe Living. Absolutely. I mean, that's what's so interesting, right, is that it's our society that has kind of bypassed the original evolutionarily built systems that we have inside of our body, right? And that even goes back to farming, right? Like human beings originally were not farmers, right? We started farming about 12,000 years ago, and before that we're hunter-gatherers. And you can see that the mechanisms of how our brains operate is back in that hunter-gatherer kind, right? So finding food is rewarding psychologically, and a lot of the systems in place are around finding food and social interaction, because even early humans as hunter-gatherers were social. And so you'll find that most of our core emotions are built upon that social instinct that we have. So it's one of the main reasons that we experience emotion is for the incentivizing us to have positive social interactions within our tribes. So, I have a son who's becoming a teenager, and I just I attended a talk at his school yesterday about the kind of this transition from into like teenage years and what that's like. And one of the pieces there was that social interactions become more important than eating, that kids will during lunchtime forego eating in favor of social experiences. So just to show you how core, how deeply rooted these social experiences are inside of us. Brooke says, if I stop judging others, maybe I will stop feeling judged as well. And that's really interesting too, isn't it? It's that, like, how much we are judging outwardly, just because of this kind of reflection that we all do. Is if we think outwardly that if we're judging outwardly constantly, then we probably project that judgment that we're doing onto others as well. So you go, I'm constantly judging everyone around me, so therefore everyone around me is also constantly judging me. And judging others and judging ourselves, when it comes to, mindfulness practice. I guess that's another thing just to try to make clear here, is that when we're talking about non-judgment, it isn't really non-judging of others, and non-judging of ourselves, and self-compassion is a small piece of the entire experience of non-judging, right? Non-judging is just step one, awareness that every experience we have goes through a judging filter, right? And so our minds, we go, what's my, it's so important, my opinion of this. So boop comes in, what's my opinion of this? And then, okay, what category does it fall into? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it neutral? And so everything tends to get categorized, and again, by that, does it make me feel good? Things that make me feel good are good. Things that make me feel bad are bad, and things that don't have any feeling go into this place of neutrality, which is usually, if we spend time in the neutral zone for a long time, we end up, that's when boredom comes, and then boredom becomes the negative experience. So just to be clear, when we talk about non-judging, non-judging other people is a part of that. Not judging, ourselves and our opinion about ourselves is part of that. But I'd say overall, it's a small part that if, at least in my own experience and my own practice, I find that judgment's just happening all the time. And about every single thing that happens in my life, there is a judgment about, this cat feels soft. So this cat is good because he feels soft, and hugging him makes me feel good. And things like that, Again, nothing, right? And right. It feels good. Does that mean I should do it more? Well, in this case, maybe the answer is yes. So and that's what it is. It's about this kind of non-judgmental awareness. Like, oh, hey, is this good for me? Is this not good for me? And to look at it that way. Lisa says, judging happens. Being aware that we are judging gives us the power to decide whether or not to interact with our judgment. Well spoken, Lisa. Thank you so much. Jean says, I tend to judge myself. I've become more aware of when I'm doing that. Doesn't stop. More aware of that it's happening. Yeah, and I think that's key. And that's just a fact. That's just how it goes. Okay. That's it. That's our time for today. Hope it was a good session for you. And we'll come back next week on my Tuesday morning, if you're in Australia or New Zealand. Also your Tuesday morning, if you're in Europe or North America, that'll be your Monday evening. We're going to talk about attitude number 2, which is patience. So look forward to that. I like this topic a lot. I'm going to try to I'll be uploading the video, the replay of this soon. So feel free to check it out again if you want to review. Thanks, Cece, for your donation. And yes, and don't go down a wormhole of self-judgment. I agree with that. And it's so easy to do, right? And I think awareness is what can help break that loop. Okay, follow along with me if you like. Let's see, the connection is bad. Hang on. Okay, follow along with me if you like as we send our well wishes out. May I be happy and peaceful. May everyone watching, listening, wherever you are, I wish you all happiness and peace. May all people on this planet, those who are suffering, those who are at ease, those who are in comfortable situations, those who are not, may we all be happy and peaceful. All right. Thanks so much, everybody. See you next time. Bye-bye.